No. It's a hard no for me. No.
Not even a little, just a little?
No. Nope.
Okay, well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. We are your hosts, Emma.
I'm Allie.
And for those of you that don't know us, we are two best friends that like to drink and talk about our favorite horror movies. And if you guys are not already following us on social media, you can follow us at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks on Instagram and on TikTok. And we also have a really awesome Patreon with memberships as low as $2 where you can support the podcast and get some really cool extra shit. And speaking of Patreon, I really want to give, me and Allie really want to give a huge shout out to our current Patreon members and just kind of want to shout them out here on the podcast. So I just want to say thank you guys so much. And so we appreciate you all. And I'll go down the list. Shanique, Daniela, Shannon, Angela, Megan, Katie, Elizabeth, Cassandra, Mary, Dana, Kenneth, and Carrie. And I also want to welcome a new member, Jordan. Thank you for joining our Patreon, and we've got some goodies coming your way soon. You'll probably already receive them by the time that you listen to this episode, but thank you all so much. A lot of you guys have been supporting us since the very beginning of the podcast, and we literally couldn't do it without you, and just love everything about y'all over there on Patreon and the community that we're building. Anyways, just shout out to you guys. Thank you for being you.
Yeah, we love you. And the film we're reviewing today is the 2013 The Conjuring. And I realized that I graduated college that year, so I feel old.
You feel like that was also your demonic uprising, maybe?
No, it was probably before that. But yes, we're covering The Conjuring of 2013, and not sure how I feel about this movie still. But spoiler alert. So a little bit of a spoiler alert. We cover everything about this movie, like all the spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it on Netflix. Or if you don't give a fuck, then come on this ride with us to talk about sketchy ass houses that you probably shouldn't move into.
Also, I did see that Netflix, at least in the US, is only allowing this movie, or it's only streaming through the end of September. So get on it now if you haven't watched it yet. I'm sure it will be available on other platforms, but just a heads up if you're watching it on Netflix.
Speaking of Ed and Lorraine Warren, Emma, what have you been up to?
Nothing crazy happening to me except for some weird ass ghost experiences.
What?
Yeah, I've just been feeling like it's probably just from watching this movie, and I get really, really into it, but I just like keep feeling like something's like watching me in our house, and it's been quite spooky.
Okay, I sleep over like a lot at your house, so I'm not loving this.
It's okay. It's by my closet, so I think you're safe.
What the fuck?
We'll dive into it a little later.
Damn. All right. Okay.
But anyways, Alice, how are you?
Well, shit. Now I'm scared.
I feel, and I have bruises all over my body, like freaking Carolyn, and so do you, Als. Like I wonder, but I also did just get back from a bachelorette trip. But I don't know. I think it's the spirits.
We have to discuss this further, but we'll take that offline. I just got back from Las Vegas, which is why I probably have bruises. And it was great. It was my husband's birthday, so everybody shout out Kevin. Happy birthday, Kevin. And if you are in Las Vegas or visiting or near there, check out Sliced Pizza because it's a horror-themed pizza place, and it's amazing.
Yeah, you've been there like several times. You go every time you go there, right?
It's like the crust is charcoal crust, and it's amazing. So highly recommend, yeah.
Also, Allie and I really, really want to go and see the play or the musical Screamed. I don't know if it's actually out currently right there. Yeah, right now, but they bring it up around and it does its thing every once in a while. But so if anyone wants to go with us, let's plan a trip to Vegas.
Let's fucking do it. Also, speaking of Vegas, Emma, what are you drinking?
I changed it up a little bit today. So, okay, I have two things to say drink wise. So number one is I'm drinking a Topo Chico ranch water. I'm not even really sure what's in it. It's lime juice with spiked sparkling water. Yeah, I do love Topo Chico water, so this is kind of fun to drink as like a hard seltzer. Number two, I want to say that we may have a new drink spot. I won't even say that. Just. And then my second thing I was just going to say is that I got a peach twisted tea. So I have that in the fridge as well, which is like very random, but I haven't drank since The Bachelorette. So I've been on kind of a cleanse. So here we fucking go, I guess. What are you drinking?
So you gonna get wasted.
Yeah.
I have my 3 standards. I'm drinking a pumpkin chai from Better Buzz. And if you're not from San Diego, it's just like a local little like coffee shop, and it's so fucking good. And we're on pumpkin season, people. Woo. Yes.
Woo.
Woo. And I'm drinking my standard White Claw, and I'm drinking holy water from my big dumb fucking cup. Emma, cheers.
Cheers. For the synopsis of today's film, we have paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren work to help a family terrorized by a dark presence in their farmhouse.
This one's a bit vague for me.
I feel like there could have been a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Like, where's Bathsheba?
There could be more. Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But I will say this does have a very good rating on IMDb. It's up there with the highest that we've seen so far in the films that we've reviewed. It has a 7.5 out of 10.
And for Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is 86%. And the audience score is 83. And I think that's high in my book.
I kind of think it would have been higher, but only because it is widely regarded as such a scary film. But maybe people, just because it's scary doesn't mean it necessarily equates to good ratings. Anyways, we'll have to dig deeper into that one. And this film is also directed by James Wan, and he is known for writing Saw, that came out in 2004, and directing not only this movie, but also Insidious.
Yeah.
Tiptoe through the windows. It's tiptoe through the tulips, through the windows.
Oh, shit, okay. Didn't know we were on Broadway right now.
With me.
I don't like any of that, but he's iconic in the...
That was the producer, if you guys could hear him. Oh. Keep that in.
That scared me a lot. I didn't.
That really scared me.
I did not like that. But he's iconic in the horror space, and like Emma said, he did Insidious, he did Saw, he did Megan, and all that shit. And I'm like, is he like fucking loaded? Because he's done all these horror franchises.
Oh, yeah.
I did look up his net worth, but we can't trust that on Google, right?
But what did it say? Just
60 mil.
I mean,
seems
that's pretty
low.
fucking good. But that does seem low. Yeah, horror is just so... Like, we love horror so much, but like not everybody does.
Everybody should, though?
Agreed.
Okay. Well, James Wan is an icon in the horror space. And he did this one. Good for you, James Wan.
Juan.
And it's written by Carrie and Chad Hayes. Did I get that right?
I think so.
Okay, cool. And our cast is, first off, okay, you guys, Patrick Wilson, who plays Ed Warren, and I'm like, be still my heart.
Are you blushing right now?
I'm blushing. I'm throbbing. I am. He is.
Her bruises are bruising.
My bruises are bruising. I love Patrick Wilson so much. My lord. Patrick.
My liege.
My liege.
There he is.
I will die on this hill. And then we have Vera Farmiga, who plays Lorraine Warren. Also, be still my heart. She's hot as fuck.
And she's just fantastic in everything she does.
Yeah. The
She's
Departed.
So good.
That's one of my favorite movies. And she is like hot as shit in that as well.
So good.
And she's sister of Taissa Farmiga.
Oh, I love her.
Same.
She's adorable.
She's adorable. And then we have Ron Livingston, and he plays Roger Perron. He's in Office Space. He plays Jack Berger in Sex and the City. And I feel like he plays the same character in every fucking thing, but like, go off.
Yeah. But he still was so good in this role.
For sure. For sure. And if you're making that money, like, do you?
Do what you need to do.
And then we have Lily Taylor, who plays Carolyn Perron. Emma has different notes on her than I do because I'm like, why does she bother me? Sorry, Lily.
So I watched The Haunting as a little Nina with my dad so many times when it came out in 1999. And it had such an iconic cast even back then. We had Liam Neeson, we had Owen Wilson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Lily Taylor did a fantastic job. So she's just always stuck in my mind. And I think when she came around to this role, it was so reminiscent for me of the first time I saw her in The Haunting. I don't know. I just feel like she was perfect for this role.
Okay. Cool. And then we have like fucking 5 sisters that Roger and Carolyn produced. And I'm like, what in the fucking Sound of Music is going on here? Are we going to perform a musical number? Why do you have 5 daughters?
What was that, like the Partridge Family, where they were like a traveling like musical
What's the Partridge
group?
Family?
You've never heard of that? It was like a show in like the 70s, I think.
Okay. But we've got we have 5 sisters, and I'm just gonna make 2 notes on that. Like, we have Andrea, Nancy, and we have Christine, who is Joey King. And we all know who Joey King is.
Yeah, she's living her best life for sure. She was also in The Kissing Booth, which I loved, which might be a little bit niche for our audience here on the podcast, but I loved that film.
I'm like, woof.
Such a good one.
Woof. And we have Mackenzie Foy, who played Cindy, and she is in Interstellar, which is Emma's dad's favorite movie.
It is his favorite movie of all time. He watches it now probably on a weekly basis, but there was a time he was watching it like almost every day. He loves that film. And we love it.
She also plays Renesmee in Breaking Dawn. I'm like, this bitch is like probably 20, and she's
got
so
some
rich.
notable things under her belt.
Nah, she rich. She rich. So it's kind of a stacked cast, and good for James Wan and this whole cast for making bank.
Al, something cool I want to talk about before we get into the film is that this movie is based on a true story. And I know we hear that fucking everywhere, right? There's so many movies, shows that are like, oh, this is loosely based on a true story. No, I stayed up until 2 a.m. reading articles about the real Perron family, who several of them, most of them, are actually still alive to this day and had pretty much all of these experiences that are being portrayed in the film actually happened to them at their farmhouse, which is terrifying.
It's funny you bring that up. It's like when I was watching this, I looked up Conjuring, Amityville Horror, Poltergeist. They're all like the same movie in different fonts.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. And what's the connection between all of those two is Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were also real paranormal investigators. I actually think Lorraine Warren is still alive to this day.
Nah, she's dead.
She's dead? Oh, sad.
I think it was 2019, yeah.
Well, I know she consulted on this film, which I thought was super rad.
And one of the daughters of
the Perron family.
Yes.
Yeah, they were like, I think it was Andrea. She was like one of the main like consultants. This film was also given an R rating originally by the MPAA, and the filmmakers thought that the final cut had a chance of getting more of a box office friendly PG-13 rating, and they asked the board for some clarification, but the MPAA said simply that the film was so scary that there were no cuts or edits possible that would even make it viable for PG-13, which is wild. And they didn't want to alter the film's tone or anything, so they just accepted the R rating without any appeals. That will tell you everything you know about how scary it is.
But is it?
I think so.
Okay.
Another thing that I thought was kind of cool is that director James Wan modeled this film and its cinematography and atmosphere after vintage 1970s horror films, which, Ali, I feel like are some of our favorites, are either the movies that are actually in the 70s or movies that are kind of taking place in the 70s.
And you know what's kind of fun is if you actually want to stay in the Conjuring house in Rhode Island, you can. I'm on the side of TikTok where it's like haunted places that are Airbnbs now.
I love that. Something else I wanted to bring up here too is that the crew of the film built the set of the Perrons' home nearly exactly like their real home. And when I read this fact, this is all alleged, right? We don't know the actual validity of this, but it gave me chills to think that even Andrea, the sister who was consulting on this film from the real Perron family, for her to see her house kind of re-put together to do all of this, like, I don't know, it just gave me like chills up my spine a little bit.
I get that, but like there's also the devil's advocate. Like, was this real?
True. Yeah, we don't know the validity, right?
Thank you.
But I choose to believe. Anyways, last thing that I want to say too is that if you've watched this film, you know that there is an iconic tree that is in the backyard, front yard, whatever, yard.
By the lake.
By the lake of this property. And that tree was built by the production team, and they did a goddamn good job. That tree is so scary, but also looks so real. Like, I kind of want it in my backyard in like a weird way.
Loki reminds me of the one from Sinister. I don't know.
Yep, I agree. We should do like a side-by-side and see. Maybe it's the same one. Who knows?
I don't.
So the film opens in 1968, and we see a conversation between Ed and Lorraine Warren and two young women. And they are explaining that they have been terrorized by a doll named Annabelle who moves on her own and writes disturbing messages. And at first, before the spirit was in the doll of Annabelle, the girls explained to Ed and Lorraine that they had come to find out that they thought it was the spirit of a little girl. And so they were the ones that invited the spirit into the Annabelle doll.
Who the fuck would invite a spirit
I had the same question.
into...
Like, I'm freaky, but I ain't that freaky.
No. Who the actual fuck would do that?
And I love that their excuse was, well, we're nurses, so we just like really care about people. I'm like, this girl's dead.
No.
She's a dead little girl.
That's a huge no.
Yeah. Well, and then the Warrens, they explained to them that the spirit was actually a demon manipulating them into giving it permission to possess something through the doll. This whole prologue scene is great because it introduces the Warrens' expertise in the supernatural and sets up the larger theme of demonic possession for the entire film.
Okay, so I've actually never seen Annabelle. Have you seen Annabelle?
I actually haven't either.
Yeah. The Annabelle thing kind of freaks me out more than even The Conjuring.
Really?
Yes. Because dolls are fucking scary.
Is it giving you like clown vibes from Poltergeist?
Yes, 100%. Well,
also, is this movie not just Poltergeist
this
in different
movie
font?
Is Poltergeist in a different font.
I also have a couple fun facts here too. One thing that I thought was really awesome is that Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga both traveled to Connecticut to meet with Lorraine Warren prior to filming, which I thought was so cool.
Well, and the doll that actually was Annabelle was not a
she was a real actual Annabelle doll is a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yes, but it's not like a porcelain doll.
Yeah, like the one portrayed in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the makers of the movie decided to make a more sinister looking doll of porcelain specifically for the movie and just to really like heighten the scare. But I arguably would say that a Raggedy Ann doll would almost be more scary personally to me.
Dolls in general are fucking scary.
Fuck dolls.
Fuck dolls. Like what are they called? American Girl?
I had one. I was obsessed.
Mm.
I was obsessed. I think I had Kit.
Kit?
The one with the little gap tooth because I had a gap tooth.
I'm Googling it right now.
Her name was Kit. Was I right?
I'm scared by you.
Was I right? Little blonde bob with a little gap tooth.
Yep, for sure. And I'm scared by you now.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. So we've got Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are actually like college professors or like...
Yeah, they do like college seminars and they teach, I think, demonology.
I mean, good for them. Extra income. We love that. And they're speaking about the Annabelle case in this session. There's some Star Wars-ass text. Like, it like rolls up like Star Wars font and everything. It explains that Ed is a demonologist and Lorraine is a clairvoyant. Ed can't do exorcisms because he's not recognized in the church. It's all these things. So they go on to say that the next case they're going to talk about is the Conjuring, and it's one so horrific that they can't talk about it in public until now, which is so horrific. And I'm like, this is kind of just like the Amityville Horror,
which Ed and Lorraine also had a part in.
Yes, yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, we could talk about this later too, a little bit more in depth, but I think that there's a blueprint for these types of situations, right?
For sure.
It's like family unknowingly moves into a haunted house. Spooky shit starts happening. They call in people for help. Things usually lead to some sort of exorcism of some sorts. And that's kind of like what we're about to see happen with this.
Well, and it's
film.
also like, do we believe the Warrens or like, do we not? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, fuck,
You know?
I believe. I still believe.
Oh, God. No. Take that oil off of your body.
If y'all haven't seen Lost Boys, that's what's up. Something I thought was kind of cool too is that they show that after they help those girls with the Annabelle doll, I don't know if this is actually cool, maybe that was the wrong word to use, but they bring the Annabelle doll back to their home and they have a whole room that is filled with spooky haunted shit.
Dude, so fucked, especially because their daughter, Judy,
Is so young.
she's so young and she lives
In that
in
house.
the house.
And they have someone come in there and talk to Ed. I forget who it is. It's like a police officer or I don't know, something. And he's asking all these questions like, Ed, like, what do you got going on here? Like, is all of this stuff safe? And he's like, oh, we have a priest come once a month and do a blessing and everything's locked up. I'm like, bitch, that is not safe enough for me. Like,
Bro.
100% no.
So Judy actually goes into this room that is like the haunted museum room.
Yeah, Ed catches her like sneaking around in there.
And he's like, don't touch shit. And meanwhile, he be touching shit.
Yeah. And this is all going to come into play a little later.
A little later.
as
Also,
well.
this is giving so many Zach Baggins haunted museum things.
So after all of that and being introduced to Ed and Lorraine, the film then shifts to 1971, so a few years later, with the Perron family moving into their new farmhouse in Rhode Island. And we're introduced to Roger and Carolyn, along with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April is the youngest.
Again, like what in the fucking Sound of Music is this?
Just kept trying for a boy.
Oh, jeez.
And the atmosphere at first is definitely super warm, seems hopeful. The family's excited about this new house and this fresh start. We don't get a lot of context into why they were moving in the first place or
I also think like maybe they just got a bitchin' deal.
totally. And they were like, hey, let's just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Which kind of respect that. I mean, minus all the Conjuring shit, but like,
yeah.
again, like it's feeling pretty good, but there are some like subtle hints at something ominous sort of brewing. For instance, the family dog, Sadie, she's refusing to go into the house. Like the first day they're all there, they're bringing in their boxes. That dog will not go inside. And they're just kind of like, okay, Sadie, like suit yourself. You can just sit outside. A fun fact that I have is that the state of Rhode Island does not require home sellers to disclose documented histories of a location's criminal activity, let alone any alleged paranormal or supernatural hauntings to potential buyers. So this is why the parents were never aware of all of the previous events that happened in this house when they bought it.
Okay, I wonder if that's still like a thing.
I think so. Which is spooky.
That is spooky. Also, like Amityville Horror, like where in New York,
right? Yeah.
So is that a thing there too?
Probably similar laws. So scary.
So yeah, happy young family and all their fucking Sound of Music children unpacking and getting to the house. It seems off.
100%. Yeah.
One of the daughters, we see April.
Yeah, she's the youngest.
She's the youngest, and we see her by the lake. There's like a pond or a lake?
Yeah, there's it's pretty fucking cool. Like,
Dude.
Again, Conjuring aside, this property would have been really cool.
Dude, no.
No?
Hell no.
Really? Why?
Okay.
Conjuring aside.
Conjuring aside, do you want me to list the reasons?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th.
No. All horror movies aside, why is this property not cool?
Lakes are scary.
Not really.
They are.
What if you just never went into it? What if it was just something for the view?
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
Anyways.
Maybe we'll have that bonus episode debate about lakefront properties.
So fucking April is by the lake and she's sitting on a tree stump. She is like doing her thing and she finds a fucking, what would you call that?
It's like a music box,
Music
right?
box,
Yeah, but it has like I think when you open it, it's almost like a carousel.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, like loving this word. I'm going to bring it into the house, possess the house. And that always works out well. Yeah.
Always works out.
I'll let you take this, Emma, because this is probably the scariest thing in this movie to me is the.
Yeah. So the girls play a game where one person is blindfolded and has to follow the sound of claps to find others.
It's like Marco Polo, but like more fucked up.
Yeah. Very, very, very fucked up. But you know, the first night that they're all playing this together, they're having a blast. And as one of them is hiding in this random closet, they find that there's a boarded up door leading down to a cellar.
A lot of this movie gives me Narnia.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're finding out some really fun little secrets about this house. And at first, it seems that they're excited. I think Roger, the dad, is stoked that they found a cellar. He's like, wow, we've got like extra square footage. Like, this is sick. And he goes down there to investigate and there's all these antiques and things. And he's really excited. He's like, hey, we got to go through this. Like, there might be some really cool things here that are like worth a lot of money. So they think that they've kind of like struck gold, essentially.
Also, like, don't go in
Maybe
the cellar.
Just like, nah.
Yeah. Nah. So we're now at 3:07 a.m., which is a pivotal time in this movie. The mom is waking up at this time and she kind of like notices bruises all over her body when she wakes up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have bruises all over my body today.
Same, girl.
Am I possessed?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, and then the next morning, when the kids are all getting up, Sadie the dog slept outside all night. And I hate this part, but it is kind of pivotal. April is excited to play with Sadie. She's going outside to go play while the kids are going to school. And she goes outside and finds Sadie has died without any explanation. And her body is laying right next to the cellar window outside of the house.
I hate this.
It's the worst. It's the worst. Another thing that one of the girls notices the first night when they're sleeping in the house is she said, oh, there was this horrible stench coming from our room. Like it sounded like something died. And the mom's like, well, is the stench still there now? The daughter says, no, it's gone. She's like, well, there you go. Problem solved, which I kind of love because that's like just what you have to do as a mom.
Oh my gosh. It's so laissez-faire.
Yeah.
No, dude, if you smell like fucking dead stench or sulfur, it's a fucking demon.
Yeah. As this is all happening too, I think that night or maybe the next night, one of the other daughters, Cindy, she starts sleepwalking again, which is something that she did previously. And she's repeatedly bumping her head into an old wardrobe in her and her sister's room, which is a foreshadowing of some things to come. These little haunting moments really begin very subtly with small, but still kind of unsettling events like the clock stopping, foul smells, Cindy sleepwalking. But this is all hinting at the presence of some sort of malevolent force and what we're going to see as this film progresses.
So we're at the house and Nancy and Christine are sleeping and I guess they share a room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christine feels a tug at her leg. It's like, Nancy, bitch, stop doing that to me. And this terrifies me because I feel like this is so relatable. I watch this with my mom and she often like tugs my leg to wake me up at her house. And
you're like, stop doing that.
Yeah. No, I was like,
immediately.
Please do not do that at all. So something's tugging her leg and she's like, Nancy, stop. Meanwhile, Roger is passed out in his office and hears weird shit outside of his doors. And I'm like, okay, you're hearing banging sounds and you're not concerned about your children?
I think that we've been exposed to so much scary stuff, right? Whether it's horror movies we've seen, paranormal experiences we've had, but not everybody has that immediate thought that it's ghosts. You know, he might think they've just moved into this huge house. Maybe there's something going on. There might be some like sort of logical explanation for it. That's my only excuse I may be giving him a little bit.
That's good for you. I immediately am like, what the fuck?
Well, and in this part of the film, too, we see several nights go by where all of this stuff is just intensifying, right? So there is a lot of unexplained banging going on. The daughters are experiencing doors opening on their own, cold drafts, like all this kind of stuff. And there is one night where Christine is yanked basically out of bed by this unseen force. And this is different from what Ali was just saying. She turns and sees something in the corner behind the door. It's in pure darkness.
Oh, dude, no.
And she screams, waking up the family, but no one can see anything. But Christine is freaked the fuck out. And she literally starts crying and says, "It talked to me. It wants my family dead." And this scene fucked me up. And I was talking to the producer about this when we were watching the film. You don't see anything behind the door, right? Like it's pure darkness, but they do have this shot, this long, kind of slow zoom in where you feel like something's going to pop up and maybe there's going to be a jump scare, but there never is. And I almost think that that is more scary because it's leaving it up to your imagination of what the scariest thing could be like behind that door.
I'm into it.
Same. I love that kind of a scare where it's really kind of just like up to your imagination. And we're going to see that one more time in this film, actually, at least that I noted in my notes. And there's a lot of stuff happening at this point in the film. Carolyn's still waking up with more bruises. Her husband's even like, "Hey, can you go to the doctor? Like there's something like wrong with you."
Girl, not like you, it's not anemia.
No. And she also, just as a mom, she's becoming increasingly a little more anxious, exhausted, and she's just trying to hold everything together with all of these weird experiences that are happening. As this haunting is escalating, especially with it targeting the children and Christine being physically attacked, the family's just overall fear and confusion about what's happening is absolutely growing.
So Roger, the dad, is now off to work and he's like, "I gotta work, blah, blah, blah." Bummer.
I gotta work. Oh no.
Oh no. So that leaves our mom home with all of the kids. That's 5 daughters.
5 daughters.
That's insane. But like, good for her for being able to handle it. So all of the other daughters, 4 daughters, are now going to school.
Yeah,
right?
So they're like of school age.
Yes, they're of school age. And April, who looks like she's of school age.
Yeah. She's young. She's the youngest, but definitely like, are you not in like first grade?
She's not going to school.
She ain't going.
She ain't going. She's in her room talking to somebody, and mom comes in and she's like, "Who are you talking to?" And she's like, "I'm talking to Rory." Just so cash.
No big deal. Just
no
Rory.
big deal. Yeah. She's also playing with that sketch ass lake toy that she found. The
toy. The music box.
Whatever. Yeah. the carousel, the lake toy, whatever.
Tell us how much you hate lakes.
I just did. April tells her mom, Carolyn, that she wants to play hide and clap, which I fucking hate. And she's like, "I never get to do this because the older girls don't let me play with them," which is like low-key sad.
Very sad.
So sad. And I hate this game because it scares me and it kind of keeps me up at night. Even if my house wasn't haunted, I bet this game would end poorly for me.
Well, yeah, you can't even fucking see. Like, they blindfold you. Like, that's so hard. But
fuck my shit.
Well, they're playing and the mom is the one that has to find April, right? And so they start playing the game and the mom's like venturing around the house trying to look for her. And she eventually ends up in Andrea's room where Cindy was banging her head against the wardrobe the night before.
The Lion, the Witch, and the what?
The wardrobe.
Yes.
The wardrobe. It's so creepy. This scene sticks with me so much. I just can't. When Carolyn is trying to find her daughter, who she just heard some claps and she thinks she's on to her, she's in the room with the wardrobe and the wardrobe doors start slowly opening. But she obviously can't see because she has her blindfold on. You can like ask for like second clap or third clap or whatever. And she says like second clap. And we see 2 hands come out of the clothing of the wardrobe. So we don't see the body, just the hands. And we see the...
Well, and it's not Mr. fucking Tumnus from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
It is not. We can confirm.
We can confirm.
And it's so scary because Carolyn thinks that's her daughter, April. But we know as the viewer that it's clearly not. So she starts walking towards the wardrobe. She's all excited to like catch April. And she literally walks right into it, starts putting her hands in all the clothes. And as the viewer, you're like, fucking stop. Like, don't do that. And then April pops out from behind her and is like, Mom, silly, I was over in blah, blah, blah's room.
No, I know.
And so she, like, the mom's like confused as fuck because she's like, wait, I just heard your little clappy hands in this fucking wardrobe, or at least around it. So yeah, very, very scary. This scene also fucked me up. It literally gives me
It makes me like not want to like go to sleep.
So scary. So scary.
However, like, are we not going to Narnia? Is my question.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm really sorry about that.
You should be.
So then we are back with Ed and Lorraine, and we get to see them a little bit more fully as characters as they investigate a haunting in Massachusetts. And they find out that they're able to debunk this whole situation. Debunk.
Like Ghost Adventures?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They find out that a lot of the noises that these people were hearing in their home just came from like old pipes and like water going through the pipes, which is, it's like, hello. So I think it is kind of cool that they like debunk it.
Yeah.
Then later we see them at a lecture at a university, and they are explaining the different stages of demonic possession. And they talk about infestation, oppression, and possession. Lorraine, just in general, I know we haven't seen a ton of her in the film so far, but like she has a weird, more somber kind of feel to her than usual. And this will allude, and we'll touch on this a little bit more later in the film, but this alludes to a previous case that had a very deep impact and took a lot out of her. This whole like lecture also touches on the Warrens' method of dealing with paranormal entities and their belief in the power of religious faith. Meanwhile, as this lecture is happening, Carolyn is experiencing even more stuff at their house, the Conjuring house. And she experiences some clapping from the basement while Roger and some of the girls are gone. She goes to investigate, ends up falling down the stairs by something that pushes her and closes the door on her. Then the door completely slams shut, trapping her inside. So things are getting real crazy and really like heating up in this whole situation.
We get another fucking visual of Cindy banging her head against the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Bitch just wants some Turkish delight. Don't we all, though?
What does that mean?
Turkish delight? Turkish delight is like a gelatinous
food?
Yeah.
Oh, like and it's in the wardrobe?
A treat. No, it's in Narnia.
Ah, okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So...
Well, and this scene fucked me up. I know we already talked about some scenes fucking us up, but this one is, I think, the ultimate because this is the first time that we see Bathsheba. Like Ali said, little Cindy, she's still banging her head against the wardrobe, and her sister wakes up, and we see as the viewer only Cindy banging her head on the wardrobe, but her sister is freaking out of something that she sees on top.
I hate this.
Of the wardrobe. And we get a pan up and we see, oh my God, it's like, oh my God. We see a crouched Bathsheba, which is terrifying. Arguably the scariest scene potentially in the entire film. Totally fucked me up. Fucked me up, fam.
Up and down.
At the same time, Carolyn's locked in her basement. The girls are dealing with Bathsheba on the top of the freaking wardrobe, and all the screaming and chaos is going on. And then Roger gets home, and that's what he comes home to, is all of this chaos happening. Like,
dude, I'm like, Roger, you had to go to work? Did you have to go to work?
I think so.
But okay.
Yeah, I think he did.
I'm pretty sure your family is falling apart.
Right before your eyes
would take precedent.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not a father.
You're right. Going back to that lecture that we saw Ed and Lorraine at, we find out that Carolyn Now, desperate and terrified for her family's safety, is attending a lecture of the Warrens. And after the lecture wraps up, she approaches them and explains the strange events happening at her home, including all of the bruises, the cold spots, the smell, the children seeing spirits, all of it.
Oh, so cash.
So cash. The Warrens, I would say, particularly Lorraine, is very moved by her plea.
Her plea?
Like Carolyn's plea to
oh my gosh,
help her family. Like her plea.
We're 33. You say plea?
Is plea not? Is that like what an old woman says?
Good for you.
Is that like not a word?
I'm just saying, good for you.
Well, and after I think Ed and Lorraine are able to talk about it a little bit more, they do agree that they can visit the Perron home to assess the situation. A fun fact here, around 44 minutes in the film, is during this lecture where Carolyn is attending, we see an elder woman in the front row of the classroom. This person is the real Lorraine Warren. So that's a fun thing to catch if you are watching the film.
She is an icon and she is now since passed, but we love you.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Els, I have a question for you.
Go.
Put yourself in Carolyn's shoes. How the hell did she know how to find Carolyn and Roger? Like, how did she come to the conclusion, like, oh, it's got to be probably something demonic, so I need to come to these, like, demonologist experts? So that's question one. Mm-hmm. Question two is, what would you do if this were your family? Like, you were the mother of 5 daughters and you're totally freaked for their safety. And it is physically affecting you, too.
Yeah. So I'd never be the mother of 5 daughters.
First and foremost, people.
But if I were, for some fucking reason, I would probably call the cops. This situation that they're dealing with, like with the demonologists and like being at a house that's haunted or demonized, it's not working. I would find myself out of that if I could. Or I might be dead.
I just might succumb to Bathsheba. Sorry, I keep saying her name. We haven't even been introduced to her yet, but
But what would you do?
So I think that you saying immediately like call the cops is not necessarily wrong. Like I think that that's a great emergency response, right? And I think Allie, as a self-proclaimed first girl, it's good that that's your first answer is to call the cops. I'm really happy that you said that. I just don't know. I think they would just not do anything, because it's so hard to prove what's like happening, right? And cops can't like arrest a demonic spirit, like, right? Let's be real. I think if it were nowadays, I would literally go on Google, I would go on TikTok, and I'd be like, okay.
TikTok. Sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. She just said I would go on TikTok.
I would go on TikTok because you guys, hold on, hear me out. TikTok is like the new search engine. And I'm in digital marketing. So maybe I'm just exposed to it a lot more than other people are. Everyone needs, mark my words, TikTok is the new Google. People are finding answers and anecdotal stories and evidence through TikTok. Like when they need something, people are like, how do I air fry chicken? TikTok. I'm going to see a video about it. What are some foods that can support the liver? TikTok. Somebody's probably done a video on it. I'm telling you, it's literally like the new search engine. But anyways.
I fear she's correct.
Thank you.
And that makes me sad.
It is sad. But I would say I would search maybe like spiritual something in near me.
Spiritual something near me, for sure.
like spiritual advisor or like psychic near me or something.
No, you know who we need? Beetlejuice.
Fuck.
Yep.
Do we though?
I don't know. Do we?
I mean, he is kind of hot. Shout out Katie. Our friend Katie Afraidy, we all love Beetlejuice the same. Anyways, we're going on kind of like a tangent here.
Yeah,
but yeah,
sorry.
I don't really know what I would do. I mean, I think first and foremost, I would get everybody the fuck out. Like I understand that they are not made of money and they can't just like home 7 people somewhere easily, but it might be safer to just be like on the streets.
I don't agree.
That's okay. You don't have to.
Why don't we get like a cute Motel 6 situation?
Just like in Poltergeist.
That was a Holiday Inn, but yes, exactly the same.
Ain't chilling at the Holiday Inn.
Who you with?
Me in my room? What we gonna do? Okay, so moving on, the Warrens decide that they are going to visit the Perron farmhouse, and they bring a little team with them. So we have Officer Brad Hamilton, who is a police officer. Don't know exactly how they roped him into this. And then they have their assistant, Drew, who is awesome. I love him.
He's hot.
He's so cute. He looks like Kevin. You have a little.
Oh, shit.
That was like that's probably why you are into him. And they work around the house getting a bunch of equipment set up. So they're setting up like cameras, audio recorders, other paranormal investigative equipment. And Lorraine, using her clairvoyance, she is immediately sensing an overwhelming darkness as soon as she steps into the house.
Well, this is what captured me is like, so I saw this movie when it came out in 2013 and I hadn't seen it since, but kudos to Vera Farmiga. Mm-hmm. You can see like her face, and she triggers her face to like look like she's perturbed when she enters the house, and she's like, you can tell that she's like,
it's like having an effect on her.
Yeah. She's like, fuck this shit. That made me scared.
Absolutely. And when they enter the house too, we see that the entire family is sleeping downstairs so that they can be together for protection and warmth.
Dude, fuck that shit. No. If there's no fan and I have to sleep with my entire family, I love my entire family. No.
Well, and as Ed and Lorraine are walking around the house and everything, they're absolutely noticing some weird shit. They're having weird feelings. Lorraine is like, there's definitely something sinister at play here. Things are very, very weird. And Ed even at one point questions Roger and is like, I mean, why not just like move out if you guys are having this issue? Just like we talked about a little bit earlier. Yeah. And Roger's like, bro, I can't just move out. Like we have all of our assets and money wrapped up into this place. And he's like, do you know anywhere that's going to take 7 people, like 2 adults and 5 children? Like that's crazy, which like I kind of get.
No, I'm like, that's a great question. Like, why not just like take everybody and move? You got lots of kids, bro.
Mm-hmm. It's not that easy when you have many children. They start documenting everything and all of the activity that's happening within the house. And Lorraine has this moment where she's asking the youngest daughter, April, about Rory.
She wants to play with her little like dead lake toy.
I love that you just keep calling it a lake toy.
It's a lake toy. What do you mean?
It wasn't even found in the lake.
By the lake.
By the lake.
Yeah.
It's the by the lake toy.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
For sure.
I think she actually does end up seeing a little reflection, and we finally see Rory, which is a little boy, and he's haunting this music toy, this lake toy. I'm so sorry.
The lake toy, yes. And he kind of cute.
He's a little cutie.
He also reminds me of...
He's got a cute little colonial outfit on.
He does. He also reminds me of Tiptoe.
No.
Oh. Mm-mm. No?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Cool,
moving on.
Cool.
Weird.
Yeah.
And then Lorraine makes her way outside, and this is so creepy because she's in the backyard where this giant tree is with this giant branch. And you can tell that she's having like a vision of some sort. And this scene, oh my God, it's so fucking crazy.
I don't like it because like before we even see anything, we hear something.
That's like, I think what I don't like about it is I'm like, oh, you hear like rope.
Yeah.
Like stretching.
What we're hearing is rope. How do you even explain this, Emma? Hanging from something.
And then we see feet. And it's hard to explain the actual scene, but as the viewer, you're looking at Lorraine, and to the side of her, you see feet hanging and swaying, like right behind her. And then we hear the rope sound. And Lorraine, I think she finds out just from her clairvoyance or something, but we learn more about the background of the house and how it once belonged to a woman who was accused of being a witch in the Salem witch trials named Bathsheba Sherman. Back in the 1860s, she attempted to murder her 7-day-old child. When her husband tried to stop her, Bathsheba ran outside, proclaimed her love to Satan, cursed the land, and then hanged herself from the tree. at exactly 3:07 a.m. And since then, the 200-acre property has been subdivided, and people who have inhabited this land, whether they've been on the subdivided properties or not, they have basically succumbed to this curse that Bathsheba put on the place. Some people have committed suicide. Rory, the little boy who was in the music box, was killed by his mother, and then she committed suicide in the cellar. It's just, there have been many deaths happening essentially on this property. I think there was a maid who killed herself too at one point in a different property or something. And so there have been a lot of heartbreak and a lot of death. And it seems that anyone that moves onto this property, something really terrible happens to them. So like, if you could like not,
please,
that would be really great. Lorraine has deduced that Bathsheba's spirit has latched onto the Perrons and is particularly targeting Carolyn, it seems like.
Well, and she's like, bitch, these demonic spirits don't attach to like one thing, it attaches to you, which is so important.
Like it's not attaching to like a piece of furniture or something.
It's attaching to you.
It's like it actually wants like the human force.
Yeah.
It's very, very scary.
I wouldn't want that. Please don't.
So then a couple of creepy things do happen throughout the night, but it's nothing like super, super crazy. Like they hear a bell chime and
yeah, they're like, they attach like bells to the doors.
Yeah. And so anytime that happens, everyone's kind of on edge. But I think the first few things that happen end up not being anything. So the team is sort of, okay, you know, let's see what happens. And then the next morning, it's actually such a cute little scene, but
oh my gosh, wait, it's like too cute.
It's too cute. Yeah. It's like, I think Carolyn and Roger are feeling a sense of like ease that everyone is there trying to help them. And they have this huge, like big breakfast where like everyone's making pancakes and like all that kind of stuff.
They feel a sense of calm and they're like, okay, well, we have this help of Ed and Lorraine and we have our family all together and we're making pancakes and doing bacon and all that shit. But like, shit's about to get fucked up.
Exactly. They kind of don't like know exactly like what is coming, but everyone's kind of off like doing their own thing. I think Roger has to go to his day job. The kids are, you know, running around playing all these things. And as Roger's gone, Lorraine and Ed are like, oh, well, we can help with maybe a couple of things around the house. And one of the things is there's a broken down like Chevy like on the property. And Ed's like, well, I can maybe help kind of like repair that or something.
This struck me because, like I always say, my dad and I like to fix cars, even though I don't have one.
So you loved this. Yeah. Another thing is Lorraine is trying to help with laundry and trying to do all this stuff. So as Ed is helping with the car, Roger approaches him and they have this little cute moment together where Roger is genuinely thanking him for everything that's going on and just for further help. I mean, nothing's been resolved yet, but he's just, I think, so relieved that someone is trying to help them. Ed confides in Roger and lets him know that they're obviously happy to help, but he's also very worried about Lorraine and that every time they work on a case, whatever Lorraine sees and feels, it really just takes a toll and it takes a little bit more out of her each time.
Like literally just like takes a piece of her.
And he said they had a recent case that took a really big piece of her and that she was in bed for like 8 days and didn't eat, didn't talk to anyone. And so I think he's just very, very nervous of her getting involved in something like this again. So Lorraine also encourages Carolyn to take a nap. And so Carolyn is like, well, I'm going to go up. I'm going to like rest for a little while. And while she's in her room resting, we see Lorraine outside at the clothing line and she's helping hang some sheets and do a little bit of laundry. And it gets very windy and one of the sheets falls off the line. And as it's blowing in the wind, it kind of forms the shape of a person.
Yeah. This was like probably one of the scarier parts of the movie for me.
Totally. And as it does take the shape of a person, it then disappears up into the window where Carolyn is sleeping. And we see Bathsheba in the window. And Lorraine freaks out, panics, and runs to Carolyn's room.
I would not be that brave. So, like, good for her.
Yeah. And in Carolyn's room, this is where Bathsheba truly takes hold of her. And Bathsheba, her entity, is hovering over Carolyn and throws up into her mouth possessing her. Why is that a thing? Because I've seen that in a lot of movies recently.
I know, right?
Like, why is that how you possess people, is throwing up into your mouth?
Do you want to try?
Not really.
Okay. Cool.
I'm good. Like, no, thank you. I mean, like, close your mouth.
I noted that as well. I was like, why the fuck do we just throw up into people's mouths?
I'm like, hello? Well, and Lorraine is freaking the fuck out. She's like, oh my God, is Carolyn okay? Like, I saw Bathsheba in her room. She tries to open the door because the door is like, I think it doesn't open immediately. And she's freaking out. And then Carolyn's like, oh, it's all good. Just felt a little sick. And you're like, oh, girl, no, you possessed.
No, you be done.
You be possessed.
You be possessed, girlfriend.
Very scary.
Moving on, we see our fucking skeptic cop, Brad. And he's just like, I'm going to make some coffee and do my bullshit. And he hears a whisper in the kitchen while he's getting his fucking coffee. And it's like, look what she made me do.
That reminds me of Taylor Swift. Look what you made me do.
Okay.
Look what you made me do.
It's extremely different.
Look what you just made me do.
For sure.
Look what you just made me. Oh.
Totally.
Sorry. Swifties know.
For sure. And he, for some reason, even though he's a skeptic, he's like, I'm going to go investigate. And the spirit of a maid that killed herself is like, excuse me.
Look what you made me do.
Look at me. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So.
It's very scary.
Oh, and sad. And very sad.
Like, are you a skeptic now, bro?
He better not be. All right. And then we got one of the fucking sisters that's, you know, like our little Brady Bunch clan. I can't keep track of who is who, but we got Cindy, who is in her nightgown, being very demure and stoic, going up and down the stairs. And she's like, oh shit. And she's got to go to her room, and she like slams the door shut.
Yeah. And all of them are watching her. They're like, do we intervene? Do we not? And everyone's like, no, like, let's see what happens. And like, where does she go?
Okay. So Cindy is like with Rory now. Curveball.
Mm-hmm.
So she's with Rory, and Rory's like
dead boy.
The dead boy and the Lion, the Witch in the Wardrobe. Yeah. We hear Rory saying to Cindy, like, come with me. I know where we'll hide. And I'm like, maybe daggers?
And maybe like don't listen to him, but she's sleepwalking, right? So probably easily influenced.
But also like maybe daggers because like maybe he wants to help her.
I know, 100%.
Yeah, but maybe not also. Also, if I'm going into a wardrobe and I'm not getting a fur coat, I'm not getting Turkish Delight, and I'm not getting Aslan, I'm not going.
What's Aslan?
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 Did you not read the line?
What is Aslan?
Aslan.
Aslan?
Jesus.
I'm so good. I don't remember reading. Maybe I didn't read this.
Oh
I'm a reader, so this is bad.
My mom's gonna
is
be
it
mad.
Aslan?
Aslan. Aslan.
Aslan?
Aslan.
Aslan.
Oh my god.
I think I read this as a little child, a little Nania.
Oh my god.
Okay, so anyways, Aslan. Go ahead, keep going.
Now I'm really distracted. Anyways, Cindy is she's like, yo, Rory, like, yeah, I'm gonna follow you into your hiding place.
And where is that hiding place?
It's in the fucking Narnia.
We find out that it's in the back of the wardrobe.
Yeah.
There's a like trap door situation that leads to like in between the walls of the house, which fuck me up. That scares me more than the cellar.
Does it help that we know that he wants to help her? He's like being kind.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, but also we just don't know because like this entity, it could be tricking us all. You know what I mean?
Like tiptoe.
Nope. No, thank you. I'm okay.
Cool.
Well, and so they follow little Miss Cindy into this back part of the wardrobe, and Lorraine even goes back there, and she notices the spot where the music box, or as Allie calls it, the lake toy that April had discovered. They notice like where it was supposed to be sitting on a shelf, which is also kind of creepy. It's kind of scary because Lorraine ends up falling through the flooring. Like it seems like she's falling for a really long time, but in reality, I mean, I think this is only a 2-story house, so she's not falling like forever, but it's still kind of Well, it's like a little bit scary
It's
still.
for sure scary. And I'm pretty sure this house, if it's in New England, it's like at least 3 to 4 stories. 3.5.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, and from this point, we actually see that Lorraine loses a locket that her daughter Judy had given her earlier in the film. And it's this super cute little silver locket. And she loses it during this whole scuffle in the wardrobe hiding place and then falling through the flooring down into the cellar. And that's going to come into play in just a moment. But before that, Ed and Lorraine are like, okay, this thing is fucking crazy. Some crazy shit's going on. And I think Lorraine has like a vision of some sort, or somehow she comes to the conclusion that Bathsheba's goal is to possess Carolyn, because she's noticed a trend of the children being the ones that have suffered the most in most of these cases. And Bathsheba wants to possess Carolyn to kill her children, fulfilling the curse.
Yes. And that is extremely accurate. Like Bathsheba the witch wants to have all of these women or these motherly figures kill their
sacrifice to Satan.
Yeah.
Ed and Lorraine try to get approval from the church as fast as possible for an exorcism, seeing as they have a lot of evidence now that they can show the church. But the church is super reluctant due to the family just not being very religious and the children not being baptized Catholics.
Also, like, the fuck? Let's help people.
Just help people.
Just
100%,
help people.
100%. And then as Ed and Lorraine are making their way back to their home, they're just taking a little break, I think. Back to when I said that Lorraine lost her silver locket in the Perron house.
Well, and
Judy has a matching locket.
Yes, Judy does. Yes, Judy gave her a matching locket, and that's precious. I love that so much.
When we see something happen with Judy at the Warren house, Bathsheba has somehow used the locket as like a port of some sort to get over to the Warren house to affect Judy. Bathsheba attempts to crush Judy with a rocking chair, but Ed is able, he of course comes home right in time, him and Lorraine, and this whole situation just raises the stakes a little bit more for their own family, because now, like, not only is the Perron family in danger, but Bathsheba has extended her claws out to the people that are involved in helping them, which is like so creepy.
Her claws.
Her claws. Alz, I have a question for you.
Go.
What do you think of Ed and Lorraine as a team? Like, do you think that their story was exaggerated, or do you think it's like pretty close to what really happened?
I need more context of what you're asking.
So,
me.
like, I was reading an article that Andrea Perron, the girl that the real Perron sister who consulted on the film.
Yeah.
Apparently, she said that a lot of the shit that Ed and Lorraine did in this film was stuff that really happened, including just everything that, apparently this film is as close to what really happened to the Perron family as possible. But we don't know, obviously, right? For sure.
I just have a hard time with all of it because the Conjuring house happened in 1971, quote unquote, based on a real story. And then Amityville Horror, the DeFeo story, was 1974, and the Lutz story was 1975. And then Poltergeist was 1982. And I feel like these are all congruent of like their stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to believe the Warrens. Not hard though.
Maybe it's just me, but I'm like a fucking believer. Like, I'm like, yep, all of this happened. Obviously not maybe to every single detail and degree, but I'm like, yeah, I think that a lot of the shit really like fucking happened. But I also think that there is like a religious element to a lot of this too, right? Like,
Yeah.
Because if you are Catholic, you truly do believe in good and evil. Like, to believe in God means you believe in the devil. So I don't know. I think that there's a very strong tie in this film too to like religious faith, right? And like if you just have the faith, like you can get through this. I don't know. We can get into that like a little bit more later, but I think that seems like a very strong pillar of why Ed and Lorraine are so successful in what they do, maybe.
But can I throw out something here?
Please. Please.
Do you think that they perhaps capitalized on their like success with their business?
So that's kind of what I was wondering, is if like I would love to know so much more about Ed and Lorraine Warren. Like how did they truly start? Like,
Yeah.
did it become just something as like almost a fame type of thing for them, right? Or I don't know. I just want to know like their entire story.
Dude, trust me, I want nothing more than to know that it's all factual with them because like I fucking love them, but we'll never know.
That's true. If someone has any good like articles or anything that we can like really dig a little bit deeper into Ed and Lorraine, I mean, we're obviously going to do Amityville Horror at some point. And
Which one though?
well, we always start with the orig, but then fuck me up, Ryan Reynolds.
Oh my God.
Anyways.
Fuck me up and down when he's chopping that wood.
Like what you said that with such
I know. Conviction. I know. With an axe. Yeah.
And so after this whole debacle with little poor Judy Warren, Roger calls Ed and Lorraine and he's really distraught. And he's like, my wife, well, let me back up. Him and the girls ended up getting like a motel or hotel somewhere. And so when he calls the Warrens, he's like, dude, Carolyn just left the hotel with April and Christine. And it's just like a whole thing. And it's very scary because Lorraine, as she has just discovered, knows what's going to happen. And Carolyn is bringing them back to the house to kill them.
So cash.
Just like so fucking casual.
So cash.
You know, it's fine. Well, then everyone rushes back to the Perron house where they find Carolyn. And she is possessed and she is super scary.
She's fully Reagan in a chair.
They have like an altercation with her because they find her literally about to kill April with a pair of scissors, I believe. I think it's April or it's Christine. I can't remember exactly which doctor it is, but they find her and she's literally has scissors almost to the girl's throat. They all jump on top of her, like the Warrens, Roger, and I think like the cop and the assistant. They're like trying to get her off. And then so they end up tying her to a chair.
That's a bumski.
Yeah. And they put a sheet over her too so that she just can't be like too fucking crazy. It's just so scary. And there's something so sinister about this entire part because as they're tying her to the chair, covering her with the sheet, basically Ed is like, I can't wait for the church to approve this exorcism. Like I kind of need to just step in and try to do it to the best of my ability, even though he is not an ordained priest.
You know what? If he wanted
a man that can try.
Yeah. If he
try
wanted
to be a fucking Catholic priest.
No. If he wanted to,
he would. You heard it here first, people.
Yep. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I wrote in my notes, like there's something so scary about her being covered with the sheet. Because just like earlier in the movie, remember when Christine sees the entity behind the door, but we don't see anything as the viewer besides like blackness. This part of Carolyn being covered with the sheet to me is almost scarier than if we saw her face because of your imagination is at play. You're imagining what's going on under that sheet and all we hear are her like terrifying noises.
Her moans and everything.
Her moans, her like talking in tongues, her like devil speak is kind of like what I call it. It's very, very scary. And so the spirit within Carolyn violently lashes out, causing objects to fly across the room, like attacking Ed and Lorraine and their team. And during this like ritual, Carolyn actually ends up levitating in her chair and she's screaming in multiple voices and vomits blood into the sheet that's covering her.
All I'm going to say is a continuity error, which we love.
We love a good continuity error.
Is while she's like levitating and stuff, her like sheet is like ripped on her face. And then when she comes back down, her sheet is not ripped anymore. So
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Yeah.
We'll have to go back and watch that.
Yep.
That's a good catch. I was just telling the producer that I love catching continuity mistakes because there's always someone on set who is like in charge of making sure that all of those things stay consistent. And so when something's missed, it's like my other pet peeve is when I'm reading a book and there's a typo. I'm like, oh, this was fucking published.
God, do you read books with typos?
You would be surprised, Els, how many I found a typo in a Stephen King novel.
No fucking way.
Yeah. I tell Roy every time I see it, I go, look, oh my God, look, they did this or blah, blah, blah. Things can get missed. That's like hundreds of pages that someone has to read and edit. I mean, it's a lot. As someone who used to be a copy editor, it's fucking hard.
Okay.
We're all human.
We are.
Just remember that, folks.
We are.
If there's one thing that you guys get out of this episode today is that we're all human.
Are we though? Or are we Bathsheba?
Okay, I'm kind of Bathsheba. We should do like a Bathsheba Reba crossover costume.
The fuck?
Bathsheba.
Bathsheba.
Reba, do you like scary movies? Listen to our podcast. We love you. Anyways, as this whole exorcism is hitting its peak, we also have the assistant Drew, and he's trying to look for little April because she's trapped within like the walls of the house. And so he's trying to get to her.
And little Drew be kind of hot.
Okay, I think we've already covered that he reminds you of your husband, so this makes sense.
Yeah, but I'm gonna repeat that. And
just make sure you guys know.
But he hears crying and whatever, and he for some reason he instinctively goes into the kitchen and starts fucking digging up the kitchen floor.
Yeah, I know. What a great man. He just like knows what to fucking do.
Great man, but like why would what the fuck is your instinct to go just like dig up the kitchen floor?
Yeah. Good question. Great question.
Thank you. So while Drew is going to find little April, and he does find little April in the fucking kitchen floors, he yells it out and he's like, oh, I found April, blah, blah, blah. And Mom is like, oh, word, let's go fucking kill her.
Yeah, and she like breaks out of her little chair prison and and she starts fucking booking it to April. And all of them are like, oh my God, no. Like they're like freaking the fuck out. Carolyn makes her way to April. She crawls under the freaking house in the like walls of the house and makes her way to April.
What in the fucking tunnels is this?
Dude, this house is so gnarly.
Okay.
I read actually that the real house was like a 14-room farmhouse. Like it was nuts. So can you imagine a property that big? I mean, I'm sure there's like secret garden shit and stuff going on. You know what I mean?
Secret Garden.
Oh, that was like my favorite
That's a
movie and book
whole
when I was
different
younger. Oh,
conversation.
like vegetation and like I love houses that have like a lot of plants because it just reminds me of like being in a fairy world.
No, like same.
You know what I mean?
But
And like little mushrooms. I'm like, those are their little houses.
So like maybe for your birthday, we should like
should we do like a fairy party?
like a fairy party?
As Carolyn catches up to April, who is trapped in the walls of the house, like we've noted, Carolyn is about to kill April, and Lorraine is able to kind of grab her head like through that hole in the kitchen.
Ouch.
It's kind of weird. She kind of like grabs her head and is like, no, Carolyn, like remember what you said to me. Remember this happy memory that you had. Because earlier in the film, Carolyn and Lorraine have a very special little moment where they talk about this photo that Carolyn had up in one of the halls in the house before it was
like
broken down by the spirits.
Yeah, it was like their beach time.
Yeah, I think they were on their way to their new house in Rhode Island, and they all stopped off and had like a really happy beach moment and took a family photo. And so Lorraine is trying to call to Carolyn, reminding her of this happy memory that she shared with her family on the beach. This breaks through some of Bathsheba's hold, allowing Carolyn to momentarily regain control of her body. And with this renewed strength, Lorraine is able to complete the exorcism, and Bathsheba's spirit ends up getting banished from the house.
Or does it?
Or so we think, maybe. And Carolyn collapses, but the good thing is that she's still alive and she's like free from this entire possession.
Now everybody's all cool and happy. Emma, would you be cool and happy?
It depends. I think I'd still be scared, but
I mean, I would be too. However, Lorraine Warren gets her little locket back that she lost in the, what would you call that?
In the walls?
In the walls of the
of this property.
Yes, yeah. She gets her little locket back that has the photo of Judy. So that's really nice. That's lovely. I'm just confused. Okay, why is everybody walking out of this house so happy and like, oh, we did it kind of thing?
I have a very like matter-of-fact answer, but I think it's just because they all believe that the exorcism was successfully done because, I mean, Carolyn obviously didn't carry out the killing of her daughter. And I think it was like everyone felt that the spirit had left Carolyn and that it had, and like, I don't know, maybe Lorraine also, because she's a clairvoyant, also has like, she can tell when things are like done. And if she senses it's good, then maybe everyone else is like, all right, well, if Lorraine thinks we're good, then we're probably good.
Maybe she was wrong. I don't know.
We'll have to see.
But, and So they're all like Gucci. That's so nice for them. I love that. And Ed and Lorraine leave the Conjuring house, the Perron house, and they go back to their place with Judy. And they're so cavalier. They're just like, you know what? That was a thing. And the priest next door wants to have a consultation with us like tomorrow for another project. And I'm
They're
like, what
ready
the
for their
fuck?
next gig.
They're ready for their next gig. And I'm like, so is fucking James Wan.
He's ready for Insidious, baby.
He's
Let's go.
ready for whatever's
Let's
coming.
go.
But they're like, yeah, we're going to the fucking church tomorrow. And okay, so they have the demonic toy box.
The lake toy?
The lake toy.
/ music box
Music
from
box,
Rory.
yeah.
Yep.
Mhm. They have that to put in their little scary haunted museum. And they put it in there. And this is kind of like a fun ending to this movie. It opens up after they leave. And we think we're going to see something. And we don't. And then it's fucking over.
Fiend. Well, and in the credits, I actually love this part. When the credits roll, it shows photographs of the real Perron family and the Warrens, just bringing everybody as a viewer back to Earth, showing that, hey guys, remember, this was based on real events, which I love that it kind of like brought it back full circle.
I love that, but I also like want to know more about the actual real events.
Oh, absolutely. I think Andrea, the daughter, wrote a book, and I know you're not going to read it, but maybe like I read it and we can have a discussion about it.
Okay. Wow.
Are you going to read it?
No.
Okay, see, I'm just saying, I love you, but you're not going to read it. But maybe like I'll put it on fucking hold at the library. Als, what were your like final thoughts on this film?
This movie just gave me so much Amityville horror. Like I said at the top of this, it's all the same to me as Amityville horror. It's poltergeist, it's ghost adventures. It just gave me all of that. And I want to believe in Ed and Lorraine Warren and rest their souls, and please don't haunt me.
Real quick, Als, so knowing that this is based on true events though.
But is it true?
Well, I was just going to say, like, does that make it more scary for you or dramatic or like not really? Like,
No.
Could it not matter at all if it was based on true events? Because for me, it makes it more scary.
But we don't know if it's true.
I think that's where we differ because like I'm such a believer where you're like, I'm not going to believe unless it's like proven to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, damn, like when they roll in with the credits at the top and are like based on true story, I'm like, ah.
But like also we could put that at the top of this podcast and say this is based on true events. It could be a total fucking lie.
My other question for you, and I think you're already going to answer it the way that I think because I know you so well, is did this story at all feel fresh to you or just like a similar kind of cookie cutter haunted house story that we see in similar horror films?
This is not like my favorite type of horror film. I love a campy thing, and this is a little bit more too serious. I like when it's like funny or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I like these movies, but it's not my favorite.
How did you feel about like the big exorcism at the end? Like, did you feel like that was satisfying? Did you feel like you needed more? Like, were you kind of like, like, how did you feel about like the ending? Were you disappointed?
I wanted it to end. As we all know, I have a short attention span. I wanted it to end.
But were you satisfied with the ending? Or were you like, that could have been better?
I didn't give a fuck because I was like, oh my God, it's over. Thank God.
I feel like I really liked the exorcism. I did kind of overall just feel like this is like a copy paste of a lot of different similar
That's
movies.
exactly what I'm saying.
But I will say that I did enjoy the way that they went about it. I think like I mentioned before, I really liked the sheet being on top of Carolyn because it really just adds that extra element of like your imagination needs to imagine what's under that sheet. I don't know. I really liked that for some reason. That stuck with me.
I think that was maybe one of my favorite scenes because that was creative and made your brain go different ways. But for the rest of it, I was like, okay, this is all kind of the same. But I enjoyed the movie. But what was your favorite scene?
I don't want to say this is like my favorite scene, like, oh my God, I loved it. But I will say the scene that like scared me the most, which maybe made me like it, was when Bathsheba was at the top of the wardrobe, when it like panned up to her like crouching and then she jumps down to the daughter. That truly fucked me up.
What I will say is like there are a lot of good jump scares in this movie. Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess like, did you think this was scary?
Yes. It's a lot of jump scares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which
are not your favorite.
Are not my favorite. But it also reminded me of like we were saying earlier, it reminded me of a lot of movies we've seen, and it kind of made me not pay attention to it as much as I should have.
Because you're like, this isn't exciting me. It's sort of just following the same.
It's like following an algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My bad.
I was terrified by this film. I was like, I told the producer, I'm like, you need to come to bed with me tonight. Like, I need to I can't even be in a room alone. I was like so freaked out by it. But that's what I love, because I haven't been scared by a lot of movies recently. And this one always fucking gets me. I don't know. Well, it just always does.
I haven't seen, so this came out in 2013. I haven't seen this probably since then. It just, what I liked about it is kind of analyzing how it goes back to all of those classic films, Amityville and Poltergeist.
Yeah, it definitely gave me a lot of Poltergeist vibes, which I did love, because that's like one of my favorite films.
Also, what I will say, one of my final thoughts is, fuck the clap game.
Fuck the clap game.
No.
I think that's one thing we can 100% agree on.
Like, no. Emma? No.
Well, guys, so that was The Conjuring. We hope that you enjoyed our recap of it. And as a reminder, you guys can follow us at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks on Instagram and TikTok. And if you would like to support the podcast, you can find us on Patreon. We have a great community over there. Or just simply tell a friend, leave us a good review wherever it is that you listen to the podcast. And yeah, Allie, I'll give it to you to close things out.
Well, what I'll say is, don't buy a fucking house without making sure it's not haunted as fuck. Patrick Wilson can always get it. And stay spooky fuckers.